my live, raw, real, and all the way live and podcast these nuts.
Hello.
We have a guest, guys.
Look who's here.
Who's to the right? Who's to the right? It's Miss Coco. Hi, Miss Coco.
Hello. Hi.
And Miss Coco, who's that person on your right?
Well, it's Wendy.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Hey, Wendy. Guys, welcome to Podcast These Nuts, episode 14.
Hello.
Guys, once again, my bestie has knocked it out of the ballpark with a juicy topic, guys.
We're talking about colorism.
Ooh.
Touchy subject.
Yes, very touchy.
And the question is,
what's the question?
is the term colorism being used correctly?
Is
so we're
it?
going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
But first,
We must
absolutely take this moment to just slow it down and show absolute respect to Mr. Nipsey Hussle. Those of you probably know by now, but he lost his life tragically at such a young age, 33, I believe.
Yeah. 33, yeah.
He left a beautiful, his soulmate, pretty much, and their two beautiful children, young children.
Yeah.
This is devastating,
Very,
guys. I mean, just
he's not
for
the guy.
anybody.
He's not the guy. He's
him
such an
specifically.
influential person. He did so much for his community. So for him to die on his block in front of his store, it was just, it's heartbreaking. It really, really is heartbreaking.
While taking pictures, giving autographs, because apparently moments before he was murdered, he was taking a picture with a little girl or a young child. You know, so just always giving back. And I learned so much about him, of course, because of you and, you know, the topic of the show, and started to do some research and learn about, you know, the documentary that he was working on with Dr. Shabi or CB. Then I saw a documentary about Dr. CB and just listening to him and realizing that
they even said
he
Left
was
Eye
Dominican.
wanted to do a documentary of Dr. CB as well, and she ended up dying. In Honduras.
Talked about that. Just a conspiracy behind that. I learned a lot about that, but he was just an amazing guy.
Amazing. He was all about ownership. He owns his masters, which is rare for someone who first studio album. You know, he's really big on ownership, investments, real estate, and I mean from a young age, that's how he was talking. So he really did a lot to inspire and help people to move past the circumstance and know that there's better. So he invested his dollars back into the community, as you know you try to do. So and he did that. He wasn't speaking about it. He did it.
He was he
really
absolutely, and he was consistent across the board. The feedback that you heard about him was the same thing. One thing that always popped up in everything I read about him is how polite he was. Did you not hear that? It was like in every article about him, everyone said the same thing. He is so polite. What does that even mean? What does that even look like? I can't even imagine to be in the presence of someone like that.
He's a decent human being. He's just a genuine good person.
Through all of this, honestly, my heart went out the most, is going out the most to Miss Lauren London and her two, you know, babies, and having to have that conversation. And my goodness, I sincerely want you to know, from all of us here at the podcast These Nuts, Mrs. London, you are in our prayers.
Yes, absolutely.
We definitely are praying for your strength through this. And you know, we're just so terrible. Our condolences, truly. But dope guy. Dope guy.
Amazing.
You know, he did some amazing things in his 33 years.
He sure did.
He made the best
of it.
He made a mark.
Oh, urban legend.
He made a mark.
He sure did.
Yeah, he made a mark.
So our condolences.
Our condolences, for real.
All right, so going back into the show, guys, don't forget the hashtag Ask These Nuts. You got a question. You got some shit you want to talk about. If you have a show idea,
or some tea,
drop us a line, okay? Go to our website, the TV Takeover.live/podcast.
Yes.
Or you can send us an email at pdnpodcast@gmail.com, or just drop a comment below.
Right there.
Whatever works.
Right there.
Okay.
Right there.
You have multiple options. But ask these nuts.
Ask these nuts, guys. I want to know what's going on with y'all. Like, what? Tell me the things that you don't want anybody to know that you kind of want to know. So you go ahead and you throw it on us so we can really, because you know we're not going to hold back. We going to give it to you.
We will give it to you.
So those are the things that I'm looking for. I want the nasty stuff. I want the interesting stuff. I want the political stuff. I want the racy stuff. I want it all.
All of it.
Let's talk about it. Ask these nuts.
Ask these nuts.
That's what's up.
All right. So guys,
what's going on?
Getting into episode 14, we are talking about colorism.
This is a good one.
Colorism, big topic. So the title of today's show is Colorism, Privilege in Skin Tone.
This is a good one, right? Bestie.
So that in and of itself kind of tells you what colorism is about.
Yeah.
And the reason why Coco is here with us today is to share her perspective as a dark-skinned woman. Hey, so we have all shades here, kind of represented, except for the light skin. But we kind of have a nice. Actually, we just slide in the Mexican.
Oh, wow! She is
guys. Look at this. Look
at
this.
She is mad.
We are.
She's first of all, she's Cuban. First of all, she's Cuban.
Is she sure?
She's Cuban. Okay. I am sure. Okay. We are positive, right, babe? Cuban.
Thank you. Okay.
Cuban guys. It's not gonna matter. She's gonna call a Mexican again tomorrow.
So
we go through.
It don't matter. Yeah. So we're here to talk about colorism. Coco is here to give a different perspective on it because obviously I don't know her life. You know, and even Jody, same thing. Everybody has different experiences. Apparently based on skin tone, because that's what colorism is all about, is all I'm saying. Okay, so today's question, is the term colorism being used correctly? If I say I want to date a chocolate nigga, does that make me a colorist? So these are the types of things we're going to talk about.
Good question. Okay? Good question.
So we first touched on this topic on Jody's show, My Life Raw, Real, and All the Way Live, back in October on episode 7, when reggae dancehall artist Spice decided to take a stance against colorism.
She did.
She used some makeup, y'all.
It was very
drastic. Everybody. And made it look as if she bleached her skin.
Didn't she delete all of her pictures on Instagram?
She did. She deleted. She was very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
She wanted to make sure she made a stance. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we talked about it on that show when it first came up. So that show, that episode was actually featured on LosAngelesWire.com. Shout out to the TV Takeover Network Studios. Hi, y'all doing it or whatever. So featured on the LosAngelesWire.com. So this topic came back up again because Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is back on. My favorite little show. I love that ratchet shitty show. You understand me? It's a shitty ass show, but I love it because it's ratchet as fuck. Yeah, it is. So it came back up again because Spice in this episode was talking to Mimi, Rashida. I think Carly read about her decision to want to take a stance and be dramatic by putting on makeup. You know. So it's like, oh, you're crazy. You don't need to do that. You know, something to that extent. Basically saying that she's being too dramatic. She's not going to get her point across. People just going to look at you crazy.
Wow. Discouraging her from doing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt like it was a moment for them to kind of stop, listen, and understand. Because what Saw was talking about is true colorism, because she's saying she is having a hard time getting ahead because of how dark her skin is. And it's being, told to her in so many ways. If you were lighter, and bleaching is big in Jamaica. Big. Okay?
A lot of these Caribbean islands.
So people are encouraging her to make some changes, because if she makes these changes, then she could probably climb higher in the charts. So that's really kind of what the real definition is. So colorism. So what is it, and where did it start? So the term is said to have been used first by an activist and Pulitzer Prize winner named Alice Walker back in 1982. So colorism defined is prejudice or discrimination against someone with a dark skin tone typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. And it's very similar to racism. So racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's race is superior. So colorism goes back to slavery, where slaves were raped by white slave owners.
Right.
These lighter toned slaves were given housework to do,
right,
and thought of to be more intellectual and receive preferential treatment. So the house niggas.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So slave owners thought the darker skinned blacks like yourselves were suited for hard labor. Sorry guys, you didn't get to go in the house. So colorism is really, a byproduct of white supremacy. So the lighter your skin was, the more preferred you are. And a lot of these children, especially back at that time, these light-skinned children are family members, technically, of these men who raped them.
Yep.
So it's a form of nepotism. It's a form of colorism. They are getting an advantage because they're lighter. So they have that advantage. So being light-skinned when, during slave times was an asset because of that privilege.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you've heard of slaves, or heard stories of slaves turning against each other, being aggressive towards each other.
Yeah.
A lot of that had to do with how they were pinned up against each other, giving this person favoritism over another,
So the story of the source behind that, right? The Willie Lynch letter. For those of you that are familiar with it, it's a letter that was written, I think they said it's dated about 400 years now. And when they were having difficulties controlling the slaves, they had this guy come over and pretty much give them a speech, walk them through how do you control your slaves. And the exact remedy that he told these people to control your slaves was to put them against each other. Put your dark skins against your light skins, put your young against your old, put your male against your female, put your fat against your thin, put your coarse hair against your fine hair. That is what they instilled in these slave owners to control us. So this goes deep.
It does. It goes really,
this
really
goes
deep.
deep. We're talking about our ancestors.
So, colorism is really just a different presentation of racism. It's just racism on a different platter. It really is. So as we talked about, advantages and privilege, research has linked colorism to smaller incomes, lower marriage rates, longer prison terms, fewer job prospects for dark-skinned people.
Right.
Do you have any personal experiences related to that?
I've always felt that.
Did you?
Oh my
Did you
goodness.
think it was because of the color of your skin?
There's been times I've been in situations where I look at some women and, they're lighter and they're definitely have the body and, the whole little package. And I'm like, okay, yeah, she's always going to get what she wants.
You think that?
I've always thought that. Yeah.
Okay.
I have had those times, I have had those times.
I guess I don't know, because I see from a different seat because I'm in a different seat, but I never really thought of it. I never really think of it in that way. We are all beautiful in our own way. We have all different tones and shades. I recognize all of that, but it's either you're pretty or you're not. It's either you're ugly or not.
Yeah.
You can be light and ugly.
Yeah. You definitely can.
There's all kind of variations.
There's a lot of light skin ugly.
There's all kind of variations in between, but I don't know. I never really thought of it or thought that because this person is of a certain color, they're going to get ahead outside of white people and that distinct privilege that they have. But within race, I never really looked at it that way.
Absolutely. Well, like you said it. I mean, you are the light skinned girl.
I am.
You are
and it's this way in a lot of cultures. Mexicans have talked about it. We were having a conversation about Dominican Republic, where there's lighter Latinos or Latinas and darker skin, and they have these issues where it becomes one of colorism and also classism. You see that a lot in the Caribbean, as well. So it's a big thing that runs deep. So much so outside of the Black community, because it's almost there's a lot of cultures where there's mixed variation of skin tone. You're gonna have some level of colorism there. And so that's all over. So that's what colorism is really about. You know, that privilege that is granted to you because you're of a lighter skin tone, and those who are of a darker skin tone, they have a harder time. As Spice was saying, I want to call her Lady Saw so much all the time. Every time I always want to call her Lady Saw. I don't know why.
Not the Lady Saw
every
today.
Time, exactly. Not Lady Saw, not church lady.
The old school.
Yeah, old school Lady Saw. Yeah.
Like those days.
Yes, those days. Exactly. Every time I think of Spice, I think of Lady Saw.
I'm saying it was that generation.
Yeah, that during that time. So you know, that's what colorism. Those advantages, that privilege, the disadvantage, the discrimination is what colorism is really about. But a lot of times what I'm seeing is people are saying, oh, well, you know, he doesn't like dark-skinned girls. You're pretty for a dark skin. People who have different preferences on the type of person they would want to date doesn't necessarily mean that they would discriminate or, you know, they think any less of the race or culture. I'm just telling you, I have a preference. So if my preference was white men, or if my preference was dark-skinned men, I don't have a problem with light-skinned men. I'm just telling you that's what I would naturally be drawn to. That's all I'm saying. And that's even for a season. You know what I mean? So it's just what I'm into right now. Doesn't mean that I have a problem with that race or people. And a lot of videos that I saw, I came across as well, was of that nature where people were using colorism and kind of intertwining it with preference. You know, it seems more like some of these girls had self-esteem issues because people didn't like them or didn't have a preference for darker skin tones. And they were really distraught by it. But then, of course, then you see lighter skinned girls in the comments saying, well, you don't know how we had it, you know, being called red bone and called this. Everybody has a name for everybody. If we're talking about preference, everybody got some shit to say about everybody.
Red bone has never ever been, in my generation or my time growing up, red bone has never been a bad thing. To be somebody to be.
Well, some people just don't like being called it. You know, just because you call the red bone and you might happen to like it doesn't mean that I do. Don't call me red bone. That is not my name.
True.
Okay, if you want to know my name, ask me my name. Be respectful. You know. So,
but you know, not many people are cut like you, friend.
Well, I'm just saying. That's the reason why I, you know, wouldn't necessarily like something like that. So again, you know, everyone has, you know, their sides to it. But a dark-skinned girl feel like she goes through it in terms of acceptance, being accepted by other people, or necessarily being liked, or feelings being reciprocated. Same thing for light women. So I think a lot of times.
I'm sorry, I think I skipped over her because I answered the question and I didn't give her an opportunity to answer the question about your experience. I'm sorry.
Well, like with my experience, so I was telling Jody, like before the show started, that I don't know, like I was never really too much of, I guess, a fan of my color, my complexion. Like I didn't think that it was beautiful. So I kind of
Why?
Because of the fact that I used to be called, okay, with the exception of me being, I was tall, I was skinny, I wore glasses, and on top of that, they used to always call me like darky, or they would always say like, you're a field nigga and I'm the house slave. You know, that type of stuff.
They was cutting up.
Wow, they went there.
Yeah. That's what it was when I was like in school.
Right.
So
the bullying.
Right.
I mean, that hurts. That hurts on it. I mean, that would really.
But I mean, it didn't. I guess it didn't really like bother me. It's kind of like I was like, okay.
How would you look at it now? Would you look at that as colorism, or would you say that it was intense bullying that led to self-esteem issues?
No, I would say that was just, I don't know, cause like the time frame that I grew up in, like everybody used to rank on everybody. So
we were pretty hard.
Yeah,
we ranked.
It was some heavy ranking.
And then sometimes you have to know what it's all like. I had really bad acne. So I like at any moment my face you could be the butt of a joke. Wherever and you know, kids are smart. Like we're evil. You're like really evil. So we realize, oh, that's what bothers you. Dark, all right, bitch. All right, dark motherfucker. All right, pimpled head. All right, you big head bitch. You know.
They were horrible. horrible.
They were.
They were horrible.
They were.
I was 3 eyes because of my birth mom.
Your mole.
Yes. I was 3 eyes. I was 3 eyes for
people talk shit, but you have to, and those, to me, in those instances, it's more like bullying that leads to self-esteem issues more than it is colorism as it's actually defined. You know, there's a difference. And as we talked about a lot on our show, a lot of times these stories, these topics lead back to some sort of self-healing and some sort of self-reflection that needs to happen. And in those particular cases, you know, it may be okay to sit on the couch, you know, and talk through it and talk through those feelings and everything that you're going through, if that's what you're truly experiencing. But shit, even fucking straight on racism can be fucking traumatizing. Cause PTSD. You know, like you may be going through all sorts of emotional issues when it comes to that. So, you know, the point, as per usual, is to get some help. You know, no matter what it is that you're facing or going through, get some help. But also use the terms correctly. Okay. Use the terms correctly, so there isn't confusion. So just like with anything, you know, when there's a serious case, you want to take it seriously. You don't want to have to scrutinize so much because people are not using things in the correct context. So now this shit is all blown out of order. Okay. So yeah, you know, that was it. Did you guys have any other experiences that you wanted to add, especially being the darkest in the room?
Another thing that I used to, so my best friend is probably like your complexion, and then it was, you know, me, and then her sister is kind of like your complexion too. So we used to be called like the triple T, because we used to all work together, say like T, T, and T. And the thing that I always used to notice and feel some kind of way about was the fact that anytime like we were in a club together, they would get approached first before I would get approached. And then the only reason why somebody would approach me is maybe because of the fact that the homeboys were like telling their homeboy to come over and talk, and then it was like that awkward, like, I guess I'll talk to him, you know, just because. So that's one thing. Like when I used to club a lot, that was one of my issues that I had was just like, okay, you know, like I used to be like, well, I wonder if I was a little bit lighter, like would I get more boys? Would I get approached more?
No, because like, I used to go through that too. I used to go through that. That like you can't. It's just impossible to always be the first pick every single time. You may be last every single time. Like that used to happen. I was a short little one. I could barely pass, you know, for a certain age. So yeah, that happened to me too. And I was like, see, it doesn't necessarily, and that's the thing that I think people need to hear. It's not, the grass ain't always greener. You know, we all go through shit. The grass is not always greener. So, you know, you really have to be confident about yourself, you know, feel great about yourself and who you are and accept yourself. Just Gabby Sidibe, like I think about her, listen, she big and black, okay? But when I see her post, you see nothing but confidence. You know, like I'm not, she ain't stunting nobody. What you gonna say, I'm fat? Okay, bitch, I already know I'm fat. What you gonna say, I'm dark? I know I'm dark and I love it, bitch. And what? But it comes, that's intrinsic.
I'm living my best life.
That's intrinsic. That comes from inside, you know, so you really have to be able to own that. Those are, to me, separate issues because, again, it is not all, the grass ain't always green, y'all. We all are going through some things, and light doesn't necessarily always mean right, or doesn't always equate to being able to get ahead. But again, if you're in a phase and you're dealing with someone who, in a true definition of colorism, is a white supremacist, or who thinks that white is right and this is where I need to be, they're the problem, not you. At the end of the day, while it sucks and it's fucked up, you are not the problem. No. They are. So fuck you. Fuck them. Okay? I'm good about me. You don't want the fucking problem.
You know what the problem is, though? A lot of people don't have, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good leaders, good role models out there that are having these real conversations with people to build them up. Because if you look around and all you see around you are people that are weak and constantly making the wrong decisions, it's hard for you to sometimes break that.
Right.
It's hard for you to break that, you know.
And that's why, you know, discussions like this are important. So people can listen, can spread the message, and you can hopefully inspire and motivate, you know. So it's just about how you want to use your voice and the things that you talk about and the sort of issues that you bring light to. But, you know, just know, I mean, bitch, dark, light, bitch, we all go through shit. I was picked on. I was bullied. I wasn't always the first girl picked. I was last a lot of times. I mean, and I was light skinned. So, yeah. You know?
Everybody has their own degree of shit. Basically.
Everybody has their own degree of shit. Absolutely. But you have to be able to own your truths and own who you are. If you have a big ass head like mine, it's perfectly wrong. I guess, you know, fuck you. My head is big. And so what? Bitch. And it's round for the fucking and what? Okay? I hate my arms. Like, I talk about it, it'll always be the first thing that's, because this is me. This is who I am. This is shit that I hate. Maybe it had nothing to do with my skin color, you know? You know, like, there's so many different, bitch, we all got some shit fucked up, you know? But it is what it is, and I own it, and I love it, and it's still me, so
the problem is that there's not a lot of people out there that are willing to own their area of opportunity, and they're constantly lying to others and lying to themselves. So you can't know what to do and understand how you need to move forward because you're so caught up in this fairy tale that you created. You have to own. Yeah, you have to own these feelings.
You gotta own it. You gotta own it, and that's the best way to move forward is some level of acceptance to at least say, hey, this is the issue, this is what's going on. Ask questions, do whatever you got to do to get to the root of it, and then work on it, whatever it is, you know, or make some sort of improvement towards it. Especially if it's a self-esteem issue, making yourself feel better. Because I mean, honestly, it's that's why bitch is called self-esteem. It ain't esteem for self for no reason.
Right.
Okay.
Cat Williams.
That was Cat Williams. Okay. Quoting a fucking comedic G out here. Okay.
Listen, that nigga be. Listen, honestly, he drops some knowledge on his show.
Oh, he does. All the time.
Yeah, he
all
drops
the
some
time.
knowledge. Yeah.
All the time. You know. So yeah, like you really do have to take the time to get yourself together. So again, a really great, interesting topic. I can't wait to see what happens with this as the shit progresses on Love and Hip Hop. And how people receive it. And how they engage in the discussion.
They're now seeing it play out
on camera, right? Seeing the whole setup to everything, and you know, and how everything played out with Slice.
And probably I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by some of the comments that were made behind the scenes by some of the other people, how they felt about it.
How they reacted.
I think that's going to be probably some of the biggest surprises. Actually,
absolutely.
You know, I don't really watch that stuff, but now that this conversation actually has me a little bit curious. I think I might try to catch up on it.
I mean, I mean, and a lot of times when I tell you these shows are dumb as fuck, ratchet, but it's just pure entertainment. But a lot of times there could be some sort of core issue that truly is important, or it may make me think of something else, or there's some bigger issue within the fuckery. You know,
which is what this was.
And you
a bigger issue within the fuckery.
An important issue within the fuckery. So you know, you want to point those things out and highlight it and talk about it, have a discussion about it, because as you do research, you see that there's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people that seriously have an issue, whether it be true colorism or whether it be having self-esteem issues because of what other people think about them.
Out of curiosity, where you are today, do you still struggle with some insecurities because of the color of your skin? And do you feel you're at a place where you're like, fuck y'all?
No, I'm fine. I didn't have like a really major issue. It's just that was one of the things that used to kind of go through my mind, like, okay, if I was her color, like, would this occur, would this, but I've never had that, like, I want to be light-skinned. It's kind of like in between. I've never been, like, I never downplayed it, but I've never, like, celebrated it. Now it's like, now it's like I'm very content with it, hence the name why I have Coco, because when back in, let's see, Downlink, Blackplanet days, like I took it back. I took it back.
She went.
I took it back, and my page is still active.
Whoa.
Well, you know, Solange a couple of weeks ago popped up on Blackplanet and had this whole, she started a page, and that new album that she has, she used that to market her page. So she tweeted like, hey guys, follow me on Blackplanet. And everybody was like, what?
Blackplanet.
So, you know, everybody ran to Blackplanet, wanted to see what was going on, and she had like snippets, or maybe like 4 or 5 photos, Then she had like this little preview of her music. So literally everybody, this was like a couple of days before Facebook. Yeah. So this was like a couple of days before Facebook had that big huge shutdown. Everybody was freaking the fuck out. So that's why everybody kept saying, "Oh fuck this, I'm going to Blackplanet."
Gotcha.
That's why everybody kept saying
my salon shut down.
So
she did that.
Yeah. Yeah, like everybody
got a huge abuse.
So people like me,
Blackplanet subscription,
right? So people like me that had a Blackplanet page was like, "Bitch, let me go find out what my thing is." Like I had to go back to AOL.
Whoa.
Yeah, I would have to.
I had to hit forget password and create a new password. Wow. There are some people that are.
Remember the user that old email?
Yeah, because that was like my standard back in the day. That was for everything. I know some people created a page.
All right, and we are back, guys. So sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties, but Coco was in the middle of actually giving us a really interesting throwback Blackplanet.
Y'all remember this was going on after Solange done jumped on.
Hello. So what was the story? So you have a Blackplanet.
Yeah, so I had a Blackplanet page, and my Blackplanet basically centered around, my complexion is Hershey's Kisses.
Oh.
And then once I transitioned over to Downlink, that was the same thing, Hershey's Kisses, and then
so you do it to
so I knew.
Right. You wanted to make sure that any nigga that came your way, you are a dark-skinned woman.
Yes.
Like, let's not play any games. If that's not what you're into, don't come over here and waste my fucking time.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
I like that. I like that. Because there are people out there.
Because you're attracted. I mean, when your first initial, attraction to someone is going to be their parents.
Yeah.
You don't know them yet to be attracted to. You may be attracted to their spirit. If you've had the chance to meet them personally, but you really don't know. Usually, it's always that level.
The physical.
Their chemistry, the physical.
It's
always the first thing. And people like what they like.
They do. And to deny anyone of that would just be, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was a great show. Thank you, Coco, for coming on. We appreciate you being a guest and giving the darky perspective,
and she
the dark-skinned girl perspective, and sharing your story.
Yeah, and she dropped some tea.
Yes, and tea for us, because we old school, we don't know nothing.
So Wendy tells me it's tea. I don't keep up with that.
Really didn't know. No. So thanks again to Coco for coming and sharing your perspective. We appreciate it. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Great conversation on both sides of colorism and also self-esteem. So thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Podcast is episode 14. We air every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Okay.
Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts.
We everywhere. Okay.
We are everywhere.
Absolutely. So be sure to check us out.
Hashtag Ask These Nuts.
Yes.
Guys, I really am excited to hear the shit that's
we want to hear from you.
I want to hear what's going on with y'all.
We want to hear from you.
If you're too afraid to talk about it and speak your truth, give me the opportunity to speak your truth for you.
We'll do it for you.
It's going to be so entertaining, and you might actually learn some shit too. So don't forget, guys, Ask These Nuts. Yes. Looking forward to those. Thank you so much for joining us. Another great episode, guys.
Another great episode.
Episode 13. Podcast These Nuts. Good night, guys.
Bye. Episode 14. Episode 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
14.
I thought that's what she said.
14.
1,
4.
Okay.
Uno, cuatro.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I couldn't count. I was like, no, those I was like, oh, you said it.
So that's what we doing.
Yes.
That's what we doing.
See.
Episode 14, guys. Podcast.
Bye.
What a feeling it is when I tell the bass on the radio. Wendy, we started. Hey, friend. We ready?
You started from?
Yeah.
Why?
Full-blown conversations.
No,
we haven't had real conversations.
Right, exactly, really not.
It wasn't.
It was just like dead air. We started, friend. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Now we can just start over.
We can start it over?
Yeah.
Not really.
Like, what is this? Wow.
Wow.
You're crazy. You
Why don't you tell the people
are crazy.
Why don't you tell the people how you really feel, Wendy? My mic was on mute.
Good feel. Because mine isn't.
Tell the people how you really
That's
feel
what you
about me,
get.
Wendy. Let me tell you guys what just happened like 45 seconds ago, okay? She cussed me to filth.
I did?
She cussed me to filth.
What did I say?
I don't remember, but I just felt like that was happening. I don't remember. But I feel like that's what was happening. I feel like I was being attacked. I did.
Wow.
I don't remember what we were talking about, but that was just a feeling that I had. What's going on, y'all? It's your girl Jody, host of My Live Raw, Real, and All the Way Live and podcast
These nights. Hey.
Mic check, mic check, mic
One,
check.
two, 1, 2.
Mic
Hey.
check, mic check, mic
One,
check.
2, 1, 2.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Guys, we have a guest.
We have a guest.
So, welcome to episode 14. We have Miss Coco in the building.
Hey, Coco.
Hey, Coco. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, guys, and those of you that are listening to us on SoundCloud, she is a cutie pie. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Appreciate ya. So what do we have in store today, Bessie? What are we talking about today?
So, we're not going to say our name. We just skip her and skip her over that.
Introducing ourselves.
Yeah, that's what you do. Start the introduction.
Okay.